did you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be showing you the update for Morrowind for the previous Magicka, specifically the burn build from the last patch. Now obviously Morrowind hit us with some rather nasty sustain hits, so we have less recovery now. We don't seem to sustain so well on our own, and also in a trial as well you need to actually focus on more of your self-sustain in the form of heavy attacks, or perhaps changing your gear maybe to use some of those sets that we thought were once lost. Instead of all wearing exactly the same stuff, there's now lots more customization available, so we can all perform in a way that we see is viable. Now this particular setup in the past was using 5 burner spell weave, 5 TBS and 1 ice heart, which was absolutely fine, and we sustained no problem inside the trials. But since they changed everything, stuff had to be altered, and that's exactly what we've done. Skills, rotation, all that kind of stuff is exactly the same, but CPs and gear have been a little bit affected. Now the burner spell weave stuff, don't panic, and the maelstrom weapon as well, don't panic, we're still using those. But I will show you inside the section for the gear how you can optimize if you don't have all the right pieces and still perform very, very well while you're farming the good stuff. So first of all, we're going to look at the stats. We'll quickly put on some food actually, because I think I just ran out. I did. Where is it? You'll notice I have witch mothers there. That means I tried it, but I don't like it. I'm sticking with the traditional max magic, max health stuff. And let's put on a potion, and we can check the stats. A nice comfy almost 41k Magicka, that will be if I gold the gear out. 18.5k max health, which is lovely. 1.2k, almost 1.3k recovery. 10k stam. 61, that will be 61.9% spell crit. The spell damage actually goes up to about 3.5 if you consider all the buffs applied that from yourself, which is your weapon glyph and your burner spell weave proc and all that kind of stuff. Resist the so-so, not bad, and wardens now can buff with major ward and major resolve anyway, so you'll get that inside a trial hopefully, as long as they bring the right stuff. Max magic into everything, Thief Munderstone and Vampire Stage 4. Now you'll see that I've got white stars there, 4 of them. There will be gold, but the gear's not all gold, so you'll see even in the DPS test later on that there is still some potential to gain from it. Also note that all of the gear that we're going to be using, everything in the setup, no trial loot is required at all. Nothing whatsoever. Just dungeon and maelstrom. That's it. So the 2 dungeons, well, 2 dungeons, part 1 and 2. Actually, you can get this all in 1 dungeon if you do City of Ash 2 all the time. So 1 dungeon and 1 crafted set. That's it. So let's look at the skills now, and I'll start waffling. Now I'm going to go over the skills in detail. If you're already familiar with them, then fair enough, you can skip this part, but there is going to be some information in here that you might still want to hear, so it's entirely up to you. But I'm going to go through them and explain along the way how they affect the overall build and performance. So first of all, we have our single target death over time, damage over time, whatever you want to call it, depending on how long you played MMOs. This is a single target dot, and it does a decent amount of flame damage, quite a lot actually. But when it's finished, you receive a heal equivalent to that of 75% of the damage done. Now, that's very self-explanatory, so when it runs out, you heal. But if the enemy dies, or if the ability runs out before its duration is supposed to, you'll take the heal anyway. I'm going to explain what I mean. So I'm going to hit him with it, and he's going to die. Then I heal from it. It wasn't 10 seconds long. He died. So it counts as finished. So I get a heal. Also, there he goes, he's gonna die as well, and I get a heal. Now, here's the other trick. If you reapply it, you can also take the heal. So I'll get some damage on me off this tiny mud crab. Actually, let's aggro some of these. Come on, hit me. Now watch my health. I don't have to do the whole 10-second duration. I can just double tap. Oh, I can just double tap it. So, there's the dot, and I'll do it again. Healed. Put the dot on him. I'll take it. Healed. So, It's not just a 10-second duration and you heal at the end of it, which is very, very nice inside your rotation, of course. But if you choose to, you can take that heal whenever you want. Just reapply it. Obviously, the longer the dot, the bigger the heal, but as you saw, within a second or 2 seconds, that's enough to heal you to full because of all your crit bonuses and heal and receive and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really high. So that's very strong. Damage over time and heal at the same time. So every 10 seconds you reapply that without fail. Or less if you need to. Rearming trap, very simple. Puts a trap on the floor. Anything caught inside of that is immobilized, unless it can't be immobilized, in which case it won't be. However, the damage over time will still affect it, even though it's really low. But above all, during its duration, you will receive 10% critical damage. So all of your crit damage is improved by 10%. No matter what skill it's from, it's improved. Now that lasts 6 seconds. Then it rearms for free and gives you another 6 seconds. So you got a 12-second buff there. Keep that inside your rotation as well. You'll always keep up your 10% crit bonus. Very, very nice. Pulsar, this is switchable. You can change this out for anything you want. This is for passive reasons more than anything, because you benefit from having a Destro skill on your front bar, or on the bar that you're doing damage on. So this is my Destro skill slot. Now you can use Pulsar, which I'll explain what that does in a minute, or if you need interrupts, then of course you can use, where is it gone? Where's my Destro stuff skills? You can use a morph of this, morphed into Crushing Shock. Let's just buy it actually. Now this interrupts anything that you hit, so if it's trying to cast something or you need to interrupt the boss to stop him doing something, this is a very, very good skill to use. Also, for example, the Flame Shapers in Hellra Citadel, they do their stupid AoE fire stuff, and if you don't interrupt them, everybody dies. This can range interrupt them, so you can put that there instead, but I generally keep this on because if you're up against trash, you reduce their max health by 10%. And I'm going to see if I can find something that is alive for me to do that too. There's nothing here. Where is an enemy? Got to be something over there. Oh, a mud crab. Poor mud crabs today. Okay, so you can see his health bar. Now, if you hit this, it shrinks. Now, I know he lost loads and loads of health from that, but you see his health bar, physical size of it is smaller. 30 seconds, he has 10% less health. That works on not everything, but a lot of enemies. An example for that, a good example for that is in Vet More of Lorcage. When you go up against the twins, all those ads that you have to chain in and kill, this reduces their max health, so you can kill the ads a lot faster. And there's many, many situations where that applies. So it's a very nice skill to have on as utility. But I'll get to those passives in a bit as to why that needs to be there. The next skill is Inner Light, major skilled skill. We don't actually activate this at all. It increases our max magic by 5% and increases our crit by 2191, which is roughly 10%, which is very, very nice. We need to keep our crit chance up so that our crit damage is then applied. Molten Whip. This morph, there is another morph for this where you do a little backflip, and it's awesome and does more damage if things are off balance, etc. But this particular version of it adds 100 spell damage and weapon damage to your Ardent Flame abilities. They don't have to be on your bar, they just have to be active. And we're using a lot of those. We're using one here, which is this dot over here. We're using the whip itself, so it's even stronger. We're using an ultimate, which I'll get to later. That's also that skill line. We're also using Engulfing Flames, which I'm also going to come to. That's in the skill line as well. So all of those abilities are all increased by 100 spell damage. So I use that morph for that reason. But it's entirely up to you. There's arguments about which one's better. Make your own choice, but personally I use this one. Meteor, this isn't even morphed, to be honest. So there's quite a bit more damage I can get out of this. But this is on here for the stats. Your major skilled stats, if you have a major skilled ability slotted, you get perks for it, which I'll come to in the passives. But I generally don't use this unless it's an oh shit moment, because the banner's much, much stronger, and we're coming to that. But this is for stats on the front bar. Harness Magicka, goes without saying, you're going to need a shield. As you can see, it coats my health bar, gives you a shield. Also, the benefits of this one is if you receive Magicka damage, like direct Magicka damage, and it's absorbed, you gain magic back for each hit that you receive while the shield's active. So it's a replenishing your Magicka at the same time as being a protection spell. Blockade of Fire. This is Elemental Blockade. It's called Blockade of Fire because I'm using a fire staff, and it's pretty much this. Wall of elements on the ground, damages stuff inside of it. That meteor out of the sky, that's coming. That's in the gear. Engulfing Flames, very simple. Breathe Fire. In that area of effect, the cone area, anything that gets affected by that will be set on fire for 10 seconds. Decent amount of damage. Also applies a burning status effect if you're lucky. And also, while those enemies are affected, all flame damage on those targets is increased by 10%. So it's a very, very strong buff and dot at the same time. Flames of Oblivion. This is very simple. Activate it, it stays with you for 15 seconds. Fires instantly if you've aggroed the target. Then it fires at 10 seconds, 5 seconds, and no seconds. So you get multiple ticks of it. Once every 5 seconds, it does a fireball. Decent amount of damage and increases your crit rating. Just like this does, inner light on the front bar. This gives the same crit rating on the back bar. But it doesn't give you the it doesn't give you the max magic that inner light does. However, this one we do activate. We use this for damage. Eruption. This is pretty simple also. Put it on the floor. Does damage inside of this area. Lasts 18 seconds. Really long duration. Keep that up all the time as well. Now I'm going to show you how the rotations and stuff are applied eventually, but we're just going to go through these first of all. Standard of Might. This is ridiculous. While it's active, all of your damage is improved by 15%. It does a hefty amount of damage over time on whatever target is inside its area of effect. Lasts 17 seconds in total, and also it can be synergized by your teammates to pin targets to the spot. And I don't have enough ultimate to throw it down, so we'll do that in a bit. But it's really, really powerful. And in the passives, you'll see why we use this one over Meteor as well. Now, what do we got here? Let's go over the passives. Okay, this is very, very important. I'll make this as quick as possible. Oh, this is also Ardent Flame ability, sorry. When it came to this whip choice, Flames of Oblivion is also another skill. So this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. 5 skills are all Ardent Flame. So make sure you get every single passive here. It increases burning and poison status effects. Obviously burning for us because we're using mostly fire. Increases the duration and damage of the abilities. And lots of other shiny stuff that you're going to need. Now, where are we? Next is Draconic Power. I wouldn't bother too much about this because we're not really using any of it for this particular setup. You can use wings and stuff for PvP or Maelstrom if you like. This is actually very important by respect, just for the sake of the video. You get the second morph of this, which is called Deep Breath. If you get that, let's use this for example, you can switch out certain skills for this. It has that effect. Everywhere in that area, it will heal you based on every enemy hit, and then it will burst and do a big flame explosion. Above all, Deep Breath, for each target that is hit, they will be interrupted. So in certain situations where there's a big cluster of enemies and they need to be interrupted quickly, you can use that as utility to interrupt them. But that's a separate story. That's not necessarily set in stone for every situation. That's just certain trials and things like that. But keep that in mind. Now, this passives here. Get this because you take less damage when you block. Get this because you have massive resist if you use it. These two here, heal and receive bonuses and health recovery and stuff for having a Draconic Power ability active or slotted. We are not slotting any and we don't have any active, so I wouldn't worry about it. Earth and Heart. I use this sometimes, not very often, only when I run out of pots, so ignore that. Eruption we are using. Now, for using this ability, the duration's increased with this passive. We gain ultimate, if we use an ultimate, we gain health, magic, and stamina back for each point of ultimate cost. That's where I was getting to with the passive for this. This costs us 250 ultimate, so that's per ultimate point, you get this for every single resource. So your resources come back a lot if you use a very expensive ultimate. That's how we sustain. So be very mindful of what you've got at the time. Only use a meteor in emergency because maybe you're out of resources or you're going to die or the target's nearly dead. But the rest of the time use the banner because you'll get the most out of it. Now this is important. Increases gives minor brutality, increasing the weapon damage of your teammates basically by 5% for using an Earth and Heart ability. So this here, that's an Earth and Heart ability. And if you notice at the bottom corner, I have a new buff timer. That's minor brutality, so melee guys all get a bonus. Alongside that, it also generates ultimate, so every time you press it, as long as it's minimal of a 6-second gap, you'll get 3 ultimate. And we use it once every 18 seconds or every 20 almost, so we get ultimate every time we use that skill basically. Also, you restore stamina, so if you have to block and you're in trouble, you can sometimes spam a little bit. Let's give an example. Let's lose some stamina. Now, you don't gain stamina back when you block, but if you use the Earth and Heart ability, you do. So you can take advantage of that in certain situations. Don't spam it too much because you'll run out of juice, but it's really handy if you're in trouble. Oh, that's pretty much it for those. Earth and Heart's the most important skill line alongside Ardent Flame, because Ardent Flame's obviously most of your damage, and this is your utility. You're going to need these. Battle Roar is the most important. Get that as soon as possible. Destro Staff, very simple. Get every single one of these. Now you're going to find the reason why I chose a Destro skill on my front bar. First of all, a Flame Staff, you increase your heavy attack damage by 12%. That's just a passive that you're going to have a default. That's fine. But what you are going to get, also you get more concussion, burn-in, chilled effects for having a Destro Staff. That means that your burn-in status effects are more likely to happen. And above all, Flame Staff increases your damage done with single target abilities by 8%, as long as you've got a skill of that skill line slotted. So as long as you have a Destro skill on the bar that you're using the weapon on, you'll get the benefit from that weapon type. So if it's lightning, you'll get AoE damage. If it's flame, you'll get single target damage. And that's where this comes into play. The whip is single target. Flames of Oblivion is single target. And also light and heavy attacks are single target attacks. So they all get boosted. But above all, get every single one of these. They all contribute to your damage and obviously your recovery as well, because if you kill an enemy with a Destro skill, you will get Magicka back. So if they die inside perhaps your wall of elements, like the last tick of it kills them, you will get magic back. Now, light armor, get everything. It contributes to your spell penetration, to your crits, your resists, and your recovery and sustain. Get every single one. Medium, I use this one for stam recovery because I do block and I do dodge roll, and then this one just for the dodge roll, although I haven't maxed it. But the rest I wouldn't bother with. Heavy armor, these I put a little bit too much in. I don't really need these two. Small amount resist, and then a few resources back once every 4 seconds if you get hit. It's not massive, but I guess every little bit counts. Get that if you've got the spare points. But above all, get this. For each heavy piece you have, you get 2% max health. We're using one heavy, I'll take that. It's really good. Vampire, very, very important. Increases your recovery if you're stage 2 or higher, and gives you undeath if you're stage 3 or higher. This, the lower your health, the less damage you take. It's really, really powerful. And if you're worried about fire because you take more fire damage as a vampire, keep your shields up and stay out the red shit. You don't have to have stage 4, but for the sake of not messing around and having to keep changing your vampire level up and down, I just stay 4 all the time. That's personal preference, but if you want to mess with it, you're more than welcome to. Fighters Guild. First of all, get Intimidating Presence because it reduces the stamina cost of your Fighters Guild ability by 15%. Now, that's valid because we use this. If you don't have this passive, this costs a lot more, and you use it every rotation, so it's going to get expensive. This is also very important. If you kill undead, Daedra, or werewolves, you get 9 ultimate for each kill. That is awesome because we get ultimate much, much faster. We can get our sustain back, and of course we can do a shit ton of damage because our banner boosts our DPS as well. Mages Guild. This is a pain in the ass. You need Mages Guild 10 to get it. Yes, I know everybody hates getting Mages Guilds, but it's worth it in the end for the extra stats. But above all, the reason we have these two on our bar, apart from this gives us max magic and crit, For each Mage's Guild ability slotted, you gain 2% recovery and 2% max Magicka. So recovery and resources. So it's a very, very important passive to get if you have Mage's Guild leveled up, which I would recommend doing. Also, this reduces the cost of some Mage's Guild abilities, although we don't really use anything that costs, but I get them all anyway. This one, obviously, you can level it up to max and then morph it into Ice Comet or Shooting Star, but I don't really use it for damage, I just use it for stats, but that's entirely up to you as well, that's a choice you can make. Undaunted, essential. Get this, because if you take a synergy, you get loads of resources back. You should be taking synergies, that's what they're there for. They give you resources, they do damage, they give you heals, they give you shields, all sorts of manner of different things that you should be taking synergies for. You see one, take it. Also, we're using 5 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy. That's 3 different types of armor. For each type, we gain 2% of all 3 resources. So overall, 6% extra stamina, magicka, and health. And of course, we're a dark elf. So we take less lava damage, which is useless. We increase our max magicka and stamina by 6%, which is very nice. We also increase our max magicka here by a further 3%, and we have flame resistant, what we do. But basic overall, we have 9% max magicka here. Then we increase all of our flame damage by 7%. And as you can see, we're doing a shit ton of flame damage. Alchemy. This is a crucial skill. Get medicinal use as soon as possible. There is a video on my channel explaining how to get alchemy maxed very, very fast. Get that level up, take the skills out again, and just put medicinal use up to max. You don't even have to make potions for the rest of your game. Just dump all the points and put them back into here, and then that's it, you're done. You've got your recovery bonus. Now why that's important is because the potions we're using are not only expensive, but you want to make sure you get the most out of them. This will give you spell damage, it will give you crit, which is meh, we've already got crit, but it gives you spell damage and magic back and magicka recovery. Cooldown is 45 seconds, but the potion lasts 47 seconds, which means you can keep these running 100% of the time if you have medicinal use. If you don't, they're going to last about 36-37 seconds, and then you're going to have 10-second gaps every 45 seconds where you're not getting your damage bonus, you're not getting your recovery bonus, and you're going to struggle. So get that skill passive up as soon as possible. And I think that's it for the skills. Yes, it is. Okay, now you want to see the gear. The gear is easy in some respects and not so much in others, but there are alternative options that you can mess with to get the most out of it. So I'll explain that as we go. First of all, Burning Spellweave Inferno Staff in Sharpened. As I said in the last video, this took me 4 days solid to get. I'm not going to tell you it's easy to get. Well, I am. I'm going to tell you it's easy to farm, but it's not easy to get because the dice roll depends on whether you are lucky enough to get it or not. Is the dungeon easy to achieve? Yes. Is the drop rare? Yes. But at least you don't have to go into a trial with 12 people and they all get it before you and you never see it. This is soloable if you're experienced or a small group or whatever. It's doable. Just persist and you will get it. But there is another option for this, so don't panic. I'll come to that in a second. Maelstrom Inferno Staff in Sharpened. This is obviously the bread and butter of your main DPS, especially with your light and heavy weaves. But don't panic if you haven't got this. There's still an alternative for that as well, but this is what you want to optimize. Any trait will be fine on the back, realistically, but if you want to optimize again, you're going to want Sharpened. Vulcan Scoria. Now, these can be in any order. Remember, we're using 5 light, 1 medium, 1 heavy. Now, if you want to optimize, heavy on the chest, light on the belt for sure, medium perhaps on a glove or shoulder, or legs or shoulders. But you can have it in any order you want, just whatever you can get at the time. So, Divines on everything, Magicka on everything, Vulcan Scoria helmet, Vulcan Scoria shoulder. Now this obviously gives us max health and it makes a fireball fly out of the sky once every 5 seconds. When it lands, it does decent AoE damage, and this is triggered with an 8% chance via your dots. Now, if you don't know the skills already, even though I just explained them, these are the ones that count. Burning Embers is a dot. Beast Trap is a dot. Where are we? Engulfing Flames is a dot. Eruption is a dot. Wall of Elements, Elemental Blockade is a dot, and if you get a burning status effect, so like you hit something with fire and it burns, that's a dot also. All of those, every single one of them, have a chance to proc that set, and it procs a lot, pretty much all the time. So we use 2-piece Vulcan Scoria first of all, then we use 4-piece Seducer, not the 5th piece. Now, there is an option where you can use the 5th piece, but I'm going to get to that in a second. So, you have 4-piece Seducer, 2 Vulcan Scoria, and 5-piece Burn and Spellweave. Now, you can have these in any order, but of course you're going to want the Burn and Spellweave jewelry because you can't get crafted jewelry. So, 3 jewelry of Burn and Spellweave, 1 on the body, then 1 on the staff. Back bar Maelstrom weapon, head and shoulder Vulcan Scoria. Now, what you can do is, if you don't have the Burn and Spellweave staff, I mean, it is optimal, but if you don't have it and you're trying to get it, or you're just not being very lucky with it, you can put another Burn and Spellweave on the body. So you have 5 pieces on the body, and then just craft this as a Seducer staff. So then you'll still have 5 Burn and Spellweave, you'll still have 4 Seducer, but you'll have a perfect trait weapon. So that will be absolutely fine, you can do that. But when you go to the back bar, of course, you'll still have 5 Burn and Spellweave, you'll still have your Vulcan Scoria, but you'll then be down to 3 Seducer. So your back bar, just be careful on your sustain if you do that. However, if you don't have a Maelstrom weapon, go 5 Burn and Spellweave, 3 jewelry, 2 body, 3 Seducer on the body, 1 Seducer on the front, 1 Seducer on the back. That way you have 4 on both bars. Yes, your damage will be slightly less than the Maelstrom weapon, but you'll have all the pieces in the right place, so you'll be fine. I will put that on the website as well, so you can see clearly what the optimal and the alternate setups are, but don't panic. Basically, you can get the most out of your DPS before you even touch Maelstrom, and you'll be in a really good position to then try and optimize further. Now, the reason we use a Seducer is because it has really good Magicka recovery and a maximum magic bonus that contributes to our overall damage. Now, Burn and Spellweave, if I haven't explained before, and if you're not familiar with it, max magic, spell damage, and crit. And when you deal flame damage, or damage with flame ability, you have a 15% chance to apply burn and status effect on the enemy and increase your spell damage by 513 for 8 seconds. It can occur once every 12 seconds, so there's a 4-second cooldown. Basically, all you need to do is set fire to something. Wall of Elements has a massive burn and status effect, so it's nearly likely that it's going to land on there. As soon as the second tick kicks in, it's usually on. And I can't kill them properly because they die in like 2 ticks. Where's something else? I thought that was a mud crab then. Ah, there's one. Now, your hands need to glow orange. There you go. My hands are glowing bright orange. That means it's active. So my spell damage just went up. And we'll get a potion on. Might not get there quick enough. I didn't. There's no real enemies around here for me to mess with. So I can give you a proper example. He'll do. Come here. There you go, orange hands. 3k spell damage. Let's get a weapon proc out of it as well. I can't because apparently they have too little health. So we'll do it on the skeleton in a moment. But basically, as long as you apply burn and status effects, you have a percentage chance inside that burning status effect to proc the set. Any other class is going to struggle to do that, and you're going to have a shit ton of downtime on it. But because you're a DK and you have this is flame, and this is flame, and this is flame, and this is flame, and this is flame. All this flame stuff can all trigger it, just like the dot stack up percentage chance of Vulcan Scoria, this stack up chance of proccing Burn and Spellweave. And to be honest, it's up pretty much all of the time, except for the cooldown that it actually has built in. So DK is perfect for Burn and Spellweave, but I wouldn't recommend it for any other class. Now, I think that's it for the gear itself, and now I'm going to try and show you how this all works together, show you a quick DPS test and how to sustain with it and all the rest of it before I nip into the CPs. In fact, we can do the CPs first, then I'll show you that. 20 into Ironclad to prevent massive damage from incoming single target hits. You can do 66 here, 66 here, 48 if you want to be really strict with the jump points, but you're going to change them around depending on the trial or whatever anyway, so it's entirely up to you where you put them. 10 points into here for a quick recovery, plus if you're resin people, you take 15% less damage. 30 into Warlord, so reduce the cost of break free, and you will be doing that. 75 in Tenacity to increase the amount of Magicka you get back from a heavy attack, and 75 into here to increase your recovery by 14%. Don't put any more points into these, because the extra 25 that's missing to make it 100 only give you 1%, it's really not worth it. Instead, put some points into Tumbling and Warlord, so this reduces the cost for dodge rolling, and yes, you will still dodge roll even though you're not stamina. 39 into Elfborn, 56 into Elemental Expert. I think the jump point for this is 37, but I've got points left, so they're going in there. 27 Staff Expert, 48 Master at Arms. Now, before you scream at me, the reason for this is that we are doing a lot of single target hits. And I'll just briefly go over those when I jump out the champion points, but we're doing it a lot, so we need to buffer the hell out of it so that we get the most out of it. And also the fact that we've got 75 in this tree now gives us the Butcher, so as a DK we now actually have an Execute. So long as you keep up your rotations, your light and heavy attacks do increase damage to low health targets. Then 40 into Thermaturge to increase our dot damage. You can go 75 in here if you want to get the Exploiter passive for off-balance targets. Primarily that's used more in a trial situation because you'll have people, lots of people hopefully, with Wall of Elements, which is lightning based, and that will increase the chance of that happening. But quite honestly, solo, group, dungeons, trials, all the rest of it, for the DK specifically, I kind of like this the way it is. Too many points in the Thermaturge doesn't really give you that massive overall bonus to your damage unless things are off balance all the time, in which case you only get 10%, whereas this kind of stuff, you boost all your single hits up by a lot more than that, and they still benefit from off balance if they're a heavy attack anyway. So it's entirely up to you, you can mess with them, but personally I've been trying this out a lot, altering what I do and don't think works, and this is very good for Templars, Wardens, Magicka Sorks, all that kind of stuff, but for the DK specifically, and possibly the Nightblade too, more points into single target hits seems to be a little bit better DPS, or for me at least. So play around with it, see what you like, but that is the optimal that I've found it to be at so far. Okay, now I'm going to go to Skeleton and show you how some of this is applied, how it works, and a rotation as well. Okay, another thing to touch on about the monster set, you can, if you're struggling, you can actually go 5-piece Seducer, so drop a shoulder and just have a monster set piece for the stats, and then that will be fine. But choices, Vulcan Scoria, honestly, I've tested just about everything and it has come out on top every single time. But these are your options. Vulcan Scoria is very good single target. It has high single target hit bonuses, which are in our champion points, so it applies to that as well, and the AoE that lands is quite nice. However, if you don't want the extra health and you don't want the single target stuff, you can switch to Grofdar. Now this has a 5-second cooldown per proc, but it does decent damage and its area of effect, so you can switch to that if you want, plus you get more Magicka, so your overall DPS will then start balancing out on what you would have lost here. The other option is Ice Heart. This, I know it sounds stupid because it's ice and we do fire, but this is actually very strong. It does less damage than Grofdar per tick, but the cooldown is only, well, the cooldown's nothing. It procs once a second for 6 seconds, and the cooldown is 6 seconds, so it can stay up 100% of the time, whereas Grofdar has a 5-second cooldown. Also, the chance to proc it is 20%, not 10, and every time it fires off, you get a damage shield, and it has crit attached to it as well. So this is a very nice alternative. I have tried it. DPS with this and Grofdar is very close, so whatever your preference, but failing that, stick with what I've put on and keep Vulcan Scoria. It's a lock-on shot, you can't miss, gives you health, it's really powerful. Now, when I did the champion points a second ago, I said that we've got a lot of single target hits. Now, this is single target, this is single target, this is single target, and so is our Vulcan Scoria. Now, I know we've got dots as well, that's why we've got 40 points in Thermaturge, and that will proc our other single target. So if we put a dot down, come on, don't let me down, boom, Vulcan Scoria. That is our other single target. Now the reason I boost the single target stuff so much is because when we do our rotations, it's single, 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 single. That's all single target hits there. The weaves and the whips are all single targets. So my champion points right now are contributing a shit ton to my single target hits. Ignore the damage, I haven't got no buffs on or anything. What the dots do is fill the gap. This keeps up the burn-in status effects and the damage so that my sets can proc. It also allows the Vulcan Scorer to fire, and in between then I'm doing on my single stuff. Even when I put my dots down, I'm doing single dot, single dot, single hit. Everything is a single hit first, dot after, and then single spamming. So that is why I've buffered the single target stuff and balanced the dots. Dots to buff, single to hit. Messed with it both sides of the coin, and with loads of points into dot damage and not much into single hit, I'm talking around 28 to 29k DPS. If you do it the other way around, like I have done now, the most I've got is just short of 32. Obviously, if I upgraded a couple skills and then golded out all the gear, I could break 32 quite easy 33, and maybe even more. But we're not fully optimized. Got all the right traits, but the stuff's not all gold. So gold it out if you're comfortable. This will increase your max Magicka recovery, each bonus by 129, and then the max magic by like 980 or something like that. I forget exactly what it is. Is it 980 or 945? It's 945. Anyway, you get a bonus. So these are all purple. Even the DPS test is all purple gear apart from the belt and the shoulder. Obviously the weapon has to be gold because you get the most out of it. But let's mess with the rotation. Basically, you need to make sure you're buffed up first of all. Fire this off before you get into a fight. As you can see, it doesn't affect anything until of course you aggro something. Then it fires every 5 seconds. So you put that on, start the fight with the beast trap, eruption, light attack, burn, start again. So we'll do that quick again. Eruption, light, breath, light, wall, swap. On the front bar, light, embers, light, whip, 4 times. Beast trap, swap. Now I don't cast eruption again because it's still running. It's a really long dot. So instead I do light, oblivion, light, breath, light, wall, swap. Same rotation again. Light embers, light whip, light whip, light whip, light whip, light beast trap, swap. Burning embers is gone. Sorry, eruption is gone. So we put it on. Now I explain that in the way I mean. One rotation, you do this. Next rotation, you don't put eruption down. You do oblivion instead with the same rotation. So one rotation is that, that, that. The next rotation is that, that, that. So one rotation, eruption, next rotation, flames of oblivion. One rotation, eruption, next rotation, flames of oblivion. You alternate them, one each rotation without fail, but always do alternate. You mustn't do the same one every time because you'll just waste Magicka and uptime on dots and all the rest of it. It can waste some serious time. Now, the Mag DK is difficult. It is probably one of the most difficult classes to master, but with a bit of practice, it'll be very, very smooth. You'll get it. The light attacks, there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. Don't do this. You see him taking loads of time to move his staff? Don't do that. Half hold the trigger and then let go and hit the ability. You'll see it's a lot smoother. Like that. Not. That's too slow. You have to do it. Like half weaves. It's not a medium and it's not a light. It's a slight hold and then let go and whip. Another trick for that, if it helps, have a slight hold, and just as you let go of it, double tap the whip. And you can do the same for all other skills as well. So I'll go over it once more, once I've got some Magicka back. See, Vulcan Square even fires on that dude over there. It just went off. I'll do one quick rotation. Well, at least I'll try to. It's hard to explain very quickly. I'll get my names muddled up. Okay, start with the beast trap. Eruption, light, breath, light, wall, light, embers, whip, light, whip, light, whip, light, whip, light, beast trap, light, flames of oblivion, light, breath, light, wall, switch, light, embers, whip, and you just start again. Now this time it's eruption because I did flames of oblivion last time. Beast trap, swip, flames of oblivion instead this time, and then carry on. Now obviously you see I'm running that Magicka. Two things to contribute to that. One, use your ultimate as soon as you get it on your back bar. The way you fire your ultimate off, for argument's sake, we are on the Flames of Oblivion rotation. So you do light, Flames of Oblivion, light, breath, ultimate, wall of elements, swap. Then just carry on with your rotations. As you can see, my resources went up. Another way to sustain, obviously, is when you get around the 40% mark, each rotation, instead of flame whip 4 times, do a whole heavy attack whip, then 2 light whips, and that will keep you up. So instead of 4 light whips, do 1 heavy and 2 light whips. So it actually ends up being 3 of these, but the 1 heavy takes the place of the 2 lights. If you're lucky, you'll get a decent crit on it. If not, at least you'll get your sustain back. Now I do show that in the DPS test, and that's coming now. Hopefully it's a lot easier to see when I'm not rambling. Okay, so I'm going to go through a full rotation this time with all the shiny stuff involved. Now, the meteor itself I use towards the end because it's a end closer, I guess, because there's not much else I can do. That's not morphed, as you saw in the skill, so there's more potential for that. And obviously the gear itself is also, majority of it is purple, so there's still some room to close there. Closest I've got is about 30, very, very close to 32, 31.8, almost 31.9. But with a little bit of optimizing, you can push to 32, maybe a bit more. But you'll see here that the rotation is pretty much the same as I've just shown you. Everything is in place. 4 light attacks and 4 whips all combined. Literally light whip, light whip, light whip. And when you run low, you replace the 4 with 1 heavy, 1 whip, and then 2 lights and 2 whips. So instead of 4 light, it's 1 heavy, 2 light. And that's just to fill the gap for sustain if you are running low, but the rest of the time is pretty standard stuff. As you can see, the damage is actually pretty fast. It escalates, especially when you throw that ultimate down. But you can see here I'm now about to hit 200 ulti. Now I haven't got enough for the banner. If I had enough, I would be using the banner. So on a 6mm skeleton or in an actual trial situation, you use the banner all the time, but it's end game. Now the boss is almost dead, fire a meteor. That's the only time I ever use it. And of course it gives you back resources. Keep up your dots. Every alternate rotation, one time use eruption, next time use flames of oblivion, and just rotate the 2 all the way through. And as you can see there, 31.6, which wasn't too bad. You can get 32, you can push to probably 33 with this particular setup, but that's where we are at the moment. So as you can see, it's a lot more fluent once you get used to it. Some things to note. Make sure, of course, that your rotations are clean, because that obviously contributes to your overall DPS. But above all, make sure that Wall of Elements is down all the time, because even if you lose 1 second, that's fine, but don't keep it down for any longer than that, because your light weaves from the Maelstrom weapon bonus make your DPS a lot higher. Also, make sure that Engulfing Flames is on the target all the time, because it improves all of your damage that you're doing by 10%. Very, very important to keep that up. Where are we? For example, light attack. Let's get a crit with a potion on. 5.7. Wall of Elements down. Come on, crit. 8.6. 8.6. 9.5. Big difference. Beast Trap. Flame. Wall of Elements. Light attack. 10. And that'll go up. You see what I mean? You've got to keep them on. Wall of Elements, Flames, and the Beast Trap all contribute to everything you do, and it really, really boosts your light and heavies as well. So keep it up. Okay, so I think we're about there. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully that wasn't too rushed either. I know it's very, very difficult to explain and grasp the Magicka, especially when there's so much going on. I mean, you can just look at it and it's just, oh my god, fire! Loads of it. What's going on? I know. but hopefully I managed to explain it as a way that you can absorb it, because I rambled a bit. Anyway, thank you all very, very much for watching. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. 9 times out of 10 I'll answer them, but if I miss them, I do apologize. I don't do it intentionally. If you get a chance, also check out the Patreon page, which is linked in the description. There's a little tips bucket, like a donation pot as well. Also, the Facebook page is linked in the description, and of course XynodeGaming.com, the website is there as well. Another thing, I am streaming a lot more regularly now on YouTube, so if you want to see what's going on, maybe some build practices or theory crafting, some dungeons, some usual chill out sessions, all that kind of stuff is happening a lot more now, so keep an eye on the channel and there's plenty more to come. So thank you all once again very much for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.